How did Ash vs. Evil Dead 2015 to 2018 end? When it comes to cult shows, we usually do not get proper endings, especially if it is cancelled. Like, look at He-Man. The toy line collapsed and the cartoon just vanished. Flash Gordon ended up getting axed mid-arc and we never found out what happened after it. And that brings us to Ash vs. Evil Dead, which is, well, a curious case study. It got an honest-to-good apocalyptic finale with the proper send-off and whatnot, and none of it was actually supposed to be a series finale until 9 days before it actually aired. Yeah, the company Starz pulled the rug on 20th April 2018, and on 29th April, the Season 3 finale aired anyway. So, let's talk about it. From cancelled fourth movie to cult cable series. See, Ash vs. Evil Dead wasn't supposed to be a TV show at all. In fact, for years the plan was for a fourth Evil Dead film. There were a lot of pitches for that fourth movie, and then eventually Sam Raimi, Ivan Raimi, and Tom Spezialy, the writer, took the concept and rebuilt it as a television series. The news of the project was made public at the 2014 San Diego Comic-Con, and Starz officially handed it a series order that November. And to be honest, Starz turned out to be the right home for a reason. Bruce Campbell has pointed to it many times because it was, after all, the only network that was willing to leave the show unrated and uncut, letting the gore stay excessive like the films we know and love. Now, there was one small problem. There was this rights dispute with Universal, which is why the show could not directly reference Army of Darkness by name until Season 2. But the story made it pretty clear where Ash had been for the last 30 years. Sam Raimi and showrunner Craig D. Gregorio knew from the beginning that it would be more than just another nostalgia run. In fact, Sam Raimi said, "Well, I think that's absolutely right, and we feel that we've got to kill some of the characters so the threat of the Evil Dead is real. There's going to have to be some suffering and missing of characters in this equation." So yeah, this show was going to come for everyone, including the characters we are so attached to. Ash, Pablo, and Kelly, building the Ghost Beaters. So, at the center of the show, we have Bruce Campbell as Ash Williams, who is now a middle-aged, value-stopped stock boy who lives in a trailer. Despite his living conditions, he is still as braggy as you remember him, and in case there were any doubts, years have not matured him or prepared him for the war he was about to be dragged back into. But hey, at least this time around he is not alone, because we have Pablo Simon Bolivar, played by Ray Santiago, the loyal co-worker who lovingly calls Ash El Jefe, and Dana De Lorenzo as Kelly Maxwell, whose parents got killed in the episode 2 by Deadites. We have Lucy Lawless playing Ruby Nobi, a mysterious antagonist tracking Ash and the Necronomicon, who eventually becomes an ally. Jill Marie Jones rounded out the early cast as Amanda Fisher, who was the Michigan State Trooper investigating the Season 1 killings. Tonally speaking, the show leans hard into the comedy horror genre, with Raimi's splattery and very real gore. They knew the crowd they were going to go for would tune in for the ridiculousness of the plot and the gore, so they just leaned into it. And Ash vs. Evil Dead managed to pull it off. It was equally funny and bloody, which is a feat not many people can achieve. Season 1. Acclaim first and audience second. The series premiered on Halloween night 2015 and pulled in 430,000 viewers on the same day. Critics loved it immediately, and Season 1 landed a 98% score on Rotten Tomatoes. So understandably, with this much love and support shown for the show, Starz confirmed that there would be a second season 3 days before the first season had started airing. This is definitely a very fast decision, especially when you consider that this show is about a chainsaw-handed stockboy slicing and dicing through creatures. But hey, that's just Ash for you. The season built towards the dark one, in which we see Amanda come back, but she is possessed, and Ash and his team have to make quick work of her. While the critics were all over the series, the audience response was quite modest, and to be honest, it kinda stayed that way. Season 2. Home again, and an almost ending. Then we have the second season. Here we see Ash go back to his hometown of Elk Grove, Michigan. Sadly, here most locals know him as Ashy Slashy. You know, the guy who played a huge role in his sister's death? Yeah. We also get introduced to Ash's estranged father, Brock Williams, played by Lee Majors, and Chet, played by Ted Raimi, who was an old friend from Ash's past. So yeah, pretty much in the second season, we get to know more and more about who Ash was before the Necronomicon ever came into his life and turned it upside down. Then we got the season finale, Second Coming, on December 11th, 2016. Here, the team was sent back to the cabin in the 1980s to stop past version of Ash from ever getting the Necronomicon. And I don't know about you guys, but this episode kind of felt like a finale to me. You have the big fight and the big resolution, and things are kind of somber, but in a way, you can accept it. Behind the scenes, this is kind of a finale in a way, because showrunner Craig D. Gregorio and producer Rob Tapert clashed so many times over the direction of the finale that eventually D. Gregorio stepped down as the showrunner, and the episode was actually rewritten. And you can kind of tell that with D. Gregorio. An era of Ash vs. Evil Dead ended. In hindsight, though, this was the first of the many red flags we should have taken note of.
You look good, lover!
The 14-month gap. Starz renewed Ash vs. Evil Dead for a third season in October 2016, but Season 3 actually did not premiere until February 25th, 2018. And when it did, it had Mark Verheiden as the new showrunner. Now, this kind of gap for any show is a momentum killer. And given that Evil Dead has always been a genre cult series with an aging and passionate fan base, this was like a structural problem. Because viewers do move on, even if it is sad to think about. And let's not kid ourselves, the show was always fighting with bigger shows that were more popular. So by the time Season 3 premiered, it was already fighting a battle that the 14-month gap just made worse.
Join us!
I'm good. I joined the Elks.
Season 3, A Daughter, a Funeral, and the Knights of Sumeria. And now we come to the final season of the show. And this season, I will give it props, decided to venture in a direction we had never seen Ash venture in. We have a family complication at hand. See, Ash discovered that he has a daughter, Brandy Barr Williams, played by Ariel Carver O'Neill. Her mother, Candy, is killed and returns as a deadite at her own funeral, giving us an unusually sincere and emotionally grounded scene paired with slapstick gore. So yeah, things are about to get messy and emotional. Remember Ruby? Yeah, she shows up as a small-town guidance counselor in this season, and we are also introduced to Knights of Sumeria, this ancient order that has been fighting evil across generations, as represented by characters like Dalton and Zoe. When I tell you that this season was giving, I mean it. The plot is very strong. The characters feel grounded and real, the emotional stakes are heavy, and the plot progressions make sense. So understandably, this season holds a 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, matching Season 2 and topping Season 1's score. So you might be wondering, why would it be cancelled when the quality was still holding on? Yeah, about that. "9 Days Notice, how Starz actually cancelled the show." So on April 20th, 2018, Starz announced that Ash vs. Evil Dead was cancelled, and the Mettle of Man, which was the last episode of Season 3, would act as the series finale instead of the season finale. And the reason they did this was that the show's rating was like 0.08 among adults 18 to 49. And there was a steep drop from 437,000 same-day viewers to now having roughly 177,000 viewers per episode. Plus, Starz was in the middle of launching 2 new original series at the time, Vita and Sweet Bitter. So they didn't really want to spend resources on a genre show with shrinking numbers. The cancellation statement from the network's president of programming, Carmi Zlotnick, who framed it as more like a celebration, saying, "Ash vs. Evil Dead has taken audiences on a wild ride for 3 seasons, thanks to the fantastic performances and creative efforts of Sam, Bruce, Rob, Tapert, executive producer, and the entire cast and crew. We are proud to send the show out with a bang and a splat." That same day, Bruce Campbell came out with a statement of his own saying, "Ash vs. Evil Dead has been the ride of a lifetime. Ash Williams was the role of a lifetime. It was an honor to reunite with Evil Dead partners Rob Tapert and Sam Raimi to give our tireless fans another taste of the outrageous horror comedy they demanded. I will always be grateful to Starz for the opportunity to revisit the franchise that launched our careers. Which to me sounds like a statement from a man who already knew this kind of end was coming anyway. The Mettle of Man, the actual finale. I am really glad that despite all of this, the Mettle of Man gave the series a proper finale. We see the Dark Ones kill off Ruby and steal the Necronomicon. Then they unleash a colossal demon called Kandar the Destroyer, whose stated purpose is to test the Mettle of Man, pretty globally. Chaos breaks out worldwide, and Ash, being well, Ash, wants to run away. But then Brandy talks him out of it and pushes him to accept his role as the prophesied one who's supposed to stand against exactly this kind of threat. So now that he's owning that prophecy, Ash sends Pablo, Kelly, and Brandy to safety in an armored vehicle, and we get a moment where Ash passes the El Jefe title to Pablo. He also gives Brandy a keepsake ring, and it's a certainly tear-jerking goodbye. Then Ash takes a tank, straps the Kandarian dagger like a bayonet on the artillery shell, and then taunts Kandar in classic Ash fashion. Once the demon is riled enough and the moment is right, he fires the dagger into the demon's mouth and breaks it down, even though it hurts him badly in the process. But the day is saved, and Ash too gets saved by the Knights of Sumeria, who pull him out of the wreckage and place him into medical stasis. Then the episode jumps forward. Ash wakes up in this post-apocalyptic future, now with his hand restored by future technology. He meets this knight whose name is Lex, and finds out that his Oldsmobile Delta 88 somehow survived everything and is now armored and weaponized to face off against everything that may come his way. We see him ride off to keep fighting the good fight, and the episode finishes with groovy, the same dialogue that closed out the pilot episode, El Jefe, 3 years ago. Look at it and tell me that this doesn't sound planned, because it sure as hell sounds planned to me. Bruce Campbell hangs up the chainsaw. On April 23, 2018, we got an official farewell message from Bruce Campbell on Facebook saying, "Good people, Evil Dead fans everywhere, I bid you a heartfelt farewell playing Ash, the character I took acting lessons with for 39 years. I am hereby retiring from that portrayal. It's time." I followed Ash from his formative years through his midlife crisis and decline. What a thrill, what a privilege. This is a really hard message to take because for a lot of us, Ash is a part of our culture and life. We have grown up with him, we have seen him make mistakes and get back up, so to see Campbell write that was truly heartbreaking. Most fans assumed that Campbell was saying that because Starz canceled the show, so they immediately started petitioning for Netflix to pick up the show. But Campbell took to Twitter, rather X, on the same day and stated, "Big props to fans for the effort, but I'm retired as Ash. Hashtag time to fry some other fish." 3 years later, in a 2021 Collider interview, Campbell revealed something that a lot of us actually suspected. Turns out the cast and crew had a feeling, going into season 3, that the show would be canceled. He said, "We knew the ratings were bad. We knew going into the last season that we had to have an end because we didn't think Starz was going to re-up us. And we were right. So thank God we did that. And I am so glad they had the foresight to see what could be happening. Because this character deserves a proper send-off, and I am glad we got to give it to Ash instead of him getting axed midway." Afterlife. Games, a cancelled revival, and a franchise that keeps burning. While this was the end for the show, this was not quite the end for the Evil Dead franchise because Campbell, Santiago, De Laurentiis, and Lawless came back in 2022 to voice their characters in the video game Evil Dead: The Game. The same July, Campbell also confirmed that an animated Ash vs. Evil Dead was in the making, which had everyone's, including mine, hopes up that we would finally see Ash's story continue. However, in October 2024, Campbell clarified that the project was not going to pick up from the Mettle of Man. So yeah, sad noises. Coming to the film side of the Evil Dead franchise in 2023, we got the movie Evil Dead Rise, which grossed $147 million worldwide on a budget of under $20 million. It was the highest grossing entry in the franchise's history. So, of course, Hollywood wanted to bring us another film. In July 2026, we got Evil Dead Burn, which continued the separate rebooted continuity, while another film, Evil Dead Wrath, is already expected to come out in 2028. Basically, the franchise is just making it evidently clear that Ash's story is done in 2018, and there is no intention of them revisiting that because there are bigger fish to fry. While Campbell may have been pretty serious about his retirement, the cast members don't really believe that Ash is gone either, much like us. Ray Santiago was openly skeptical about this, saying, "I don't buy it. It's like Cher." Lucy Lawless was asked in a 2022 interview how she pictured Ruby's story continuing, and she replied with, "What would Ruby be doing? I don't know. Maybe she'd come back as a nice girl who's forgotten her evil ways and be madly in love with Ash, and that would give him the collywobbles." So I guess we aren't the only ones holding out hope. Did Ash vs. Evil Dead get the ending it deserved? The show got a real finale with a complete hero's arc, a callback to its first line, and the proper critical acclaim. It was because of their foresight that we managed to get the strong season ender, because I promise you, if they hadn't already anticipated that and written the Mettle of Man the way they did, we would not have gotten such a beautiful send-off. But that brings me to a question. Do you guys think an ending is more satisfying when it is designed from the start to be the ending? Or is it more satisfying when the show's season finale works out as a series finale too, because of the way they wrote the show? I personally think that even though the latter is a less traveled road, Ash vs. Evil Dead made it clear that it can work out pretty well if the writers and showrunners are competent enough to pull it off. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Because look, we both know that Ash vs. Evil Dead deserved to go out swinging, and it went out swinging. Bruce Campbell got the send-off he wanted for a character that he has played for almost 4 decades, and I am just happy he got it. Like and subscribe as always, and I will see you guys next time. Stay groovy.